coaching in a lot of it, like teaching, whether you're a teacher, a coach, a mentor, a lot of it is psychology. And I'll give you an example. You get a group of kids, you've got multiple personalities.
Sure.
All right? Kids from all walks of life.
Talk to me.
Okay? Kids that come from money, kids that come from poverty, kids that come from broken marriages, from abusive marriage, like, you know, just a whole range of things. And
into one bowl.
Into one bowl.
Team,
and you've got to work out which buttons to press for which kids and how to press them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Another episode of House of Reason. Today I have a guest, a very important guest. It's a history guest. We've grown up together for many years. Charbel Khoury, my brother, not just a friend, but my brother. How are you, brother? Thanks.
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me, man. Thanks for coming on and just having a chit chat and how long have we been friends for, Charbs? You know, I thought about it. How long have we been friends for? When did we first meet, bro?
We met in year 5, which was 1989, but we didn't get close probably till year 6, year 7.
Yeah, right.
And then when you moved to Greenacre Road, which was year 8.
Yeah, maybe? I think I was about 13 years old. But
I remember. And then when you moved to Greenacre Road, which was the next street, we obviously got a lot closer, you know. And I still remember a quick story you probably won't remember, but I remember going to Lebanon with my family in year 8, and you actually wrote me a letter.
I did?
And I got it in Lebanon. Yeah, and I remember I got so happy.
How'd you get the letter back then?
I can't remember. Someone came that one of, I don't know, just you got it to someone that brought it to me.
There you go.
True story.
All right. You know, honestly.
So what's that, 1989 and...
Honestly, I forgot ever writing you a letter.
2022, so what's that? You know, it's over 30 years.
33 years, bro, as friendship. But honestly, and this is the truth, bro. Even though we've been friends for 33 years, I consider you more as family than friends.
I love you, bro.
No, but that's the truth. You know that. You know, I could not.
No, I do know that.
I could not speak to you for 10 years, and we just
100%. And that's the beauty of someone that you
just
have a connection with. You know,
friendship.
that you've grown up with. True friendship.
Yeah.
No, I feel the same.
The history and the it's just galvanized friendships and families for years, bro. But good, man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, man. So what I want to try and do is want to have a conversation about your time as a coach. I know you've been an NRL coach for 26 years, and actually the reason why I want to get you on
not NRL.
Rugby League.
Like rugby league coach. No, I haven't coached that high, but go on.
We're talking about rugby league,
rugby league coach.
But anyway, you've coached for 26 years. And the reason why I want to get you on is because you called it quits. And
recently.
Yeah, and so I want to know, like, why'd you call it quits and more importantly, what brought you to that point to calling it quits?
Well, 25 years consecutive, that's 2.5 decades. You know, I started coaching when I was 17 while I was still playing. So, I'd go to training early, coach the 10-year-olds, stay back and train with my team. And then, 2.5 decades, I've kind of seen the game evolve and change at junior level. Obviously, to be able to coach that many years, consecutive especially, you have to love it. Not only the game, you have to love what you do because there's a lot of pros and cons with coaching. But in the end, and I don't know if it is it forever because I'm kind of missing it again, which is not a good sign. It means it's only a matter of time before I come back. But I just started getting stale, It started being like a chore. Yeah. Like dragging I've got training today. I've got to go to training today.
And I remember the last few years before you called it quits, we'll have a conversation. I'll be like, you say, this is it. And I'm saying, come on. Yeah. And okay, this is it.
Yeah, probably the last 3 to 4 years.
Find out you're back into coaching.
Yeah, the last 3-4 years, I'd say this is my last year. But when you're passionate about something and you love it and it brings you so much joy and it gives you a chance to bring so much joy to other, people, young athletes, and you make a lot of friendships. There's a lot of good things that come out of it. It's hard to walk away from. And I kind of kept putting it off thinking that, if I call it a quits, it's basically it forever. Am I really ready to let it go forever? No. But when I pulled the pin just before Christmas, work and family was obviously the main factor. But I was dragging my feet probably the last year and a half, especially.
Sound like you needed a break from
100%.
What was it that got you into coaching? What was it about coaching that got you into coaching right at the early stages? I'm talking about. Can I show you a photo?
Yeah.
Let me show you a photo, and then I'll pull it up on the screen a little later. But I'll show you this photo, and tell me, do you remember these days? Hey.
I definitely remember that day.
So what do you remember about those days, and what type and who were you back in those days? What type of coach were you back in those days?
I was probably a coach that was, probably wanted to win.
Sure.
Like, I mean, who doesn't coach to win? Who doesn't play to win? But it's like I wish I knew there. Like I wish I knew what I know now as a coach in terms of my skill set and development and just the psychology that comes with coaching, which is a big thing that I've loved. We're going to talk about that. Yeah. But if I hadn't known then what I knew, like towards the end, I reckon 5 or 6 of those guys would be playing first grade.
Sure, there you go.
Because they were talented.
So that guy was still developing himself as a coach?
You're always developing yourself. Even now I'm developing myself.
And all he wanted to do was win.
Not all I wanted to do was win. Obviously, there's 2 kinds of coaches. There's the coaches that are all about results, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then, there are coaches that they care about the friendship. They care about the guidance. If the kid came to training crying or told me that there was a problem at school, I would go out of my way to try and get to the school to talk to the teacher. And I can tell you stories.
Away from the coach. Please.
Yeah, away from footy, So one of the earliest teams I coached, I had obviously, a group of kids, and I remember one of the mothers coming to training, or she may have called me and said, my son, I won't say the name but she said, look, my son's not allowed to play football anymore, and he wasn't even one of my better players, but he was part of the family, and that's what happens when you coach. You become a family. Well, that's how I coached.
Yeah, sure.
You bond. You're spending a lot of time together. 100%. You're going through good times and bad times. Yeah. The highs of winning, the highs of getting through a tough session, and then the lows of losing. No one likes to lose, no matter what you do in life. It's a heartbreak. It's disappointing. But people obviously take it differently.
Well, I've seen you coach Charbel, and you care.
I care about the kids.
You do care.
I care about them. So she told me that her son wasn't allowed to play footy, and I was like, why? What's wrong? She's like, he's being cheeky at home, fighting with his sisters.
Yep.
And the school called me, and they're going to expel him if he doesn't change, and we're actually going to take him out of the school as well.
Sure. And
we're going to put him in a boarding school. And I was like, no, you can't do that. Yeah. You can't. And she's like, but what? I said, look, can I come over? Can I have a chat to him one-on-one? And then, can I sort of try and help? It's not about interfering. I'm not trying to play dad, but I actually care for this kid. Yeah. He is a good kid. You
understood that you were an influence in his life.
100% you're an influence.
And then you just wanted to just give it that last shot before
you're spending so much time with these kids, and a lot of the parents in general, like I'm veering off, but you'll understand when I connect the dots. But when you're coaching them at a young age, the amount of times the parent will say to you, man, my son talks about you and the team at home all the time. And that was my first lesson of how much it means to these kids to be their coach. And
knowing that, when was the first time you actually thought that you actually had an influence?
When the parents were saying to me, my son really respects you, talks highly of you. He loves the way you push him at training. He loves that you're a bit strict on him, but you're not. Anyway, so I ended up going.
You're firm, but you're fair.
You got to be good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll never play for you.
Yeah, sure.
So you got to sort of wear 2 hats, and that's the psychology part of it. And I love that.
What do you mean they'll never play for you?
Well, when the going gets tough or your backs are up against the wall, the kids will either play for each other or play. When I say play for each other, that's playing for the coach, the staff, not just the coach, the manager, the trainer, the kid that's sitting on the bench. But you play for each other. You become a family.
Sure.
But going back to what I was saying, so she agreed. And
sorry.
Yeah, don't be sorry.
Yeah. So you're saying to me, when the going gets tough, they will play for each other. Why? Because they know that you actually care for them.
That's the culture that the coach can create. All right, you can create different cultures. You can create a culture where if they don't win, they become sore losers.
Sure.
You can create a culture where if they don't win, they come together and they come out on Tuesday night or whenever you're training again, and they train that much harder, and it brings out that extra effort in them.
Gotcha.
But the point I'm trying to make is the coach is responsible for the culture. He creates that culture.
The leader, the coach.
Yeah, you know, and I think if you show them that you're vulnerable, you show them your human side. You think about when you're in school, and if a teacher was like full on about, you know, about the books and, you know, zero joke, like you got to show them that you're a person too, that you laugh, you know, you cry, you know, you've done good things, you've done bad things.
You've won me. I'll do anything for you.
That's it. And then you show them that side, and then when they do something good, you praise the hell out of them. And when they do something bad, you don't cut them down, but you say, hang on a second, like you're better than that.
Yep.
So who doesn't want to be better in life? Who doesn't want to be better at what they do?
Love it.
And people aren't stupid. Even kids pick up on anything. Even 13-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 9-year-old playing under 10s. My first ever team I ever coached was an under 10s team. And I still remember that year, 1998, like it was yesterday, you know? And
how old
and
are
I
you,
still know
bro?
some of those kids now. They're 36, 37 years old.
Wow, there you go.
You know, I was 17, they were 10. You know, and a lot of these guys now have got kids and families, you know? So this is the journey of being a coach, you know?
So earlier on, your coaching was, you know, you're still developing yourself. Let me show you another photo. Who was this coach?
Oh, well.
All that. Tell me about those days. So you developed from your local club football to your junior.
Yeah,
what do you call that? Reps? The junior reps? Is that what it's called?
So look, obviously when I started coaching, it was at my junior club. And I only started coaching because I wasn't a very good player.
Sure.
But I loved the game as much as anyone.
Sure.
So I thought, what can I do to stay involved? And
You just love the game.
I love the game, and I saw myself sort of analysing, like, you know, the game, like, you know, more than just a player. Like I thought, you know, maybe I'm a coach. And as soon as I got a taste of it, I was, you know,
good to go.
It's a beautiful thing when you get into something that you love, no matter what it is, and that you're passionate about. Because if you can express yourself, you know, who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to make a statement?
For sure. So let me ask you how, and I've seen you coach throughout so many years, and there's been multiple times where you've taken a team that hasn't been doing so well in the past, and then you've taken them to, I've seen them get to grand finals. Tell me, what do you see in a team that isn't doing so well? What do you see in there, and what are your steps? What are the things that you try and implement to be able to take them to a winning team? What is it? And how do you do that? How do you take a team not doing so well?
Look, it's a combination of things.
Yep.
Obviously, you know, skill set, but culture is where it starts. You change the culture.
You spoke about that.
First thing you change is the culture. Yeah. And usually teams that come from a sort of a broken, not a broken system, but come from a sort of losing, you know, culture, there's holes that you see straight away. The skill set, their ethics at training, their efforts or lack of, their attitude when things go and get, you know, when things get tough, the way they, you know, they don't come together, they become individuals.
Sure.
You know?
And you find that consistent in a losing culture?
Yeah, and because I've been involved 25 years, 26 years, because I've been involved with 5 or 6, 7 teams over those years, but for each team 3-4 years at a time, you see the cycle. It's the circle. It's just so by the second time, if you can't be good at something like that, but you see the signs, you know. So first thing I do is not break them, but first thing I do is break their habits is absolutely tough training.
Sure.
You know.
So this is the path to success.
And tough love early, you know, because they struggle. They're not used to that. You know, anyone who trains hard and comes from a really solid system, embraces harder training, embraces a coach that's going to be a bit tough on them because they're used to that. But when they don't come from that, it's a bit of a shock to the system. So in all those teams, you know, I have had and did have, you know, a couple of kids that wanted to fold or wanted to quit because they weren't used to it, or one or two parents, I remember saying to me, maybe you should just relax a bit. But the ones that trusted me, and I think only one ever quit on me in 25 years, because like I said, you do something good, I'm all over it. I don't just see the bad. So for me, I get stuck into them early, get them, and then when they start conquering tough drills and making their times, and and then things start to happen at training, they love it. They want more.
So you reward progress.
100%.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And reward progress builds momentum,
100%.
builds confidence, and builds momentum.
And once those wheels start turning,
yeah,
mate, it's a freight train, and that's the best thing that I love about it, that I loved about coaching, is that you get them early, they're raw, they're rough, or they're sort of lacking in key areas, and that's normal. That's not life. But in a sporting environment, it's actually beautiful to see when someone starts to get better, and then they become, they don't just become young men, they become, really good at what they do. All of a sudden, the kid who couldn't pass from dummy half is throwing 15 meters both ways off the ground.
But you love it. Look at the way you smile when you said that.
Because I'm passionate about it, and they see that. And when they see that, they play for each other, including the coach, the manager. Even if the manager's a female, or the trainer, or the ball boy, you become a family.
Yeah, right.
That's what and I think that's what worked for me over the years. It wasn't because I was this superstar superstar coach. It wasn't because I was a superstar coach. Far from it. Like I said, I wish I knew then what I knew now. I would have probably 10, 15 kids that would be regular first graders. Right. But I loved it then like I loved it now. And I didn't stop because I didn't love it. I just got a bit stale, and I needed to have a break. And that, so far, I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, I think it was necessary.
It was necessary.
Because I know you, and I know your journey.
Yeah. It's hard work. It's a big sacrifice. It's a massive sacrifice. And anyone who's coached will know, and there are things that are, like obviously I've got a 5-year-old at home, and don't get me wrong. When you're a coach, you're not just a coach. You're a psychologist. You're a father. You're a taxi. You're feeding them. You become their psychologist in some ways. They start They start coming to you about it when you're driving them home from training, and you do it over 3 months. You get close. Yeah. They start to confide in you.
And so, are you naturally drawn towards trying to lead them the right way?
100%. So. And a couple of times, when you had 3-4 kids in the car, taking them home after the game or whatnot, and I hear them talking amongst each other, and if I heard them talking about something that I don't agree with,
you pull them up.
100% I'll pull them up.
Yeah, right.
Because I want them to be good people.
Yeah, right.
Because the world's not easy. As you know, the world's getting harder and more complicated. And when you're in a position of being a mentor, if you're as a coach, if you're just worried about how many points you score on the weekend and not what kind of a kid that person is away from the team, I believe you should not be coaching. But that's my attitude.
Yeah. It's sad, yeah. It's sad, but there's a lot of people.
I'll go back to that kid that his mum was going to pull him out and put him in a boarding school. Right?
Go back.
I went to his house, had a chat to him, told him to sort of sharpen up. I told her not to bring him back to footy for 2 weeks. Just let him just clear his mind, just be a better kid. All right. I spoke to one of his teachers that I knew at the school. He stayed in the team. Like I said, he wasn't my best player. Did his job. His mum kept him in the team. I bumped into that guy. So he was probably back in the late 90s, right? I bumped into him maybe 5 to 8 years ago. Right. I didn't even remember him because he's a man now. Right. And he actually stopped me and he goes, I want to thank you for what you did when I was a kid. He goes, because my mum threatened me, I didn't care. He goes, my dad threatened me, I didn't care. My sister swore at me, I didn't care. But the idea of not being able to play footy with my brothers, with my mates, because you get that bond.
Culture.
He goes, the fear of losing that, even though that was not as important as my family and school, he goes, the fact that you sort of use that, because I said to him, you can't come back until I find out. I said to him, you can't come back to the team until I find out that you've got a better attitude at home. You're not, you're not swearing in class. You're not swearing at your sister. That's your sister. So you don't know it now, but when you get older, you're going to realize that that's not okay. And and that is the rewarding thing. If I tell you the feeling, the feeling, the overwhelming feeling that you get when you've seen a grown man that was once a kid that, came up to here telling you, thank you for what you did for when I was a kid, and you can see that it's helped him. Why wouldn't you be proud of that?
How important is external mentors, eh? Like, you can listen to mum and dad, but how many times do we listen to somebody else that's not mum and dad for some reason?
Yeah.
But external mentors are so important.
Yeah.
It takes really like a group, a community to build an individual.
Yeah,
and in a way, sometimes football communities, they're a community, so whatever they are, they're going to develop the culture within that child and that individual.
Yeah, and the kid might be poor in school in terms of he's not academically, and I'm all for a kid putting school before sport.
Yeah.
All right, because that's what's going to carry you in life.
Sure.
But the reality is some people are better athletes than they are academically. That's just reality. And that's why sometimes you can use the sporting environment
as a bargaining tool,
to help them in their personal life. It's not us trying to overstep our mark and be dad, or we've got our own.
There's lessons in that sporting world.
Yeah, and you can teach them that, and the responsibilities of doing your job on the field, and being on time to training. That's punctuality. How important is that in life?
Missing right now.
Exactly.
I get someone for a job interview, forget about coming in 10 minutes early. They don't even message, they don't even show up. And they'll message the following day saying, oh, sorry, I couldn't make it. What?
Yeah. So towards the last few years, obviously with the way social media and the digital world has taken over, because you got to remember, I started coaching in the late 90s, and then, through the first 20, but the last few years.
When you were holding a paper and pen.
That's right. Where people would call the house phone. But the last few years that I coached,
remember that house phone with the digital,
with the
you used to wait for it to spin back. 9.
We still got one at my parents' house.
7. Yeah.
But the last couple of years that I coached, I actually didn't allow the kids to send it. Even at rep footy, I didn't allow the kids to send me a text message.
Right.
So because you could be at the train station with 5 girls, or you could be, at Macca's with the boys.
Yep.
Just say, oh, I'm not feeling good, coach. No. You can't come to training. A, you better have a good excuse. B, you call me, give me that courtesy.
You want to hear?
I've got a personal life too.
Yeah.
And your mates are all here, so that's trying to teach them
culture.
That's it, because there's a saying in rugby league, kids sport that I love. If you're not coachable, you're not employable.
Sure. Wow.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's black and white, but
I get it.
Generally, if someone doesn't want to be coached right, doesn't want to listen to the staff and his mates, then how's he going to be in the real world when his boss doesn't care who he is because he's paying him a salary?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's true what you're saying, because when I look for somebody to employ, I want to see. I know that you've studied. I know you have credentials.
Yeah.
But I need to see whether you can fit in this environment.
Exactly. And
I've said it to my staff, and I said, this great credentials are great, but we need to give them a try. I want to see whether they can fit in this environment. Yeah. This environment might not be for them. Yeah. So culture and whether you can fit in someone's environment, whether you're a team player, it's important in life, is exactly what you're saying.
That's it. And look, like I said, at the end of the day, at this level, it's amateur, semi-professional with reps, but you can't forget that they're there to have fun.
But in essence, all the lessons are the same, 100%. No matter what level it's at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's what I mean by good cop, bad cop. Like, I never ever wanted to treat it like it was a dictatorship. Like, it's either my way. Even towards the end, like as in last year, the year before, if someone said to me, man, there's a better way to do that passing drill, or maybe you should sort of pull back and do. You take it on board, because that's life. You never stop learning, and I feel personally, my attitude, if you have this attitude that I know everything, that's when you're gonna start hitting the wall with whatever.
Start to lose, yeah.
You're always learning.
Charles, let me ask you this as well. When you get a whole bunch of a new team, new kids, what is it essentially do you look for, and what do you see? What is it that you read? What is it that you pick up on? Is it their personalities? Is it their skills? What is it that you look for? Do you look for anything in particular? When you get a new team,
new team, you're looking for skill set. So you look at, who the dominant kids are. What are they good at? So there might be some big fellas that are going to be dominant in the middle, or you might have a couple of quick boys that you play out wide. So straight away, I'm starting to build this team. All right, this guy, when they're playing skill set, that kid looks like a thinker. He's an organizer. Okay, he could be a half or a hooker. This kid's got a really good pass. This kid doesn't pass. He loves to run.
Sure.
And then attitude, how do they, like I said, when I get them early, it's about trying to not break them, but I want to see who wants to fold, who doesn't like doing the hard stuff.
So you put them under a little bit of pressure.
You have to put them under pressure.
So who they are really comes to the surface.
Exactly. And then with that, you see the psychology. And that's...
What do you mean by that?
So coaching in a lot of... like teaching, whether you're a teacher, a coach, a mentor, a lot of it is psychology. And I'll give you an example. You get a group of kids, you've got multiple personalities.
Sure.
All right? Kids from all walks of life.
Talk to me.
Okay? Kids that come from money, kids that come from poverty, kids that come from broken marriages, from abusive marriage, just a whole range of things. And
into one bowl.
Team, and you've got to work out which buttons to press for which kids and how to press them. For example, I might need to be on that kid's tail the whole time, pushing him, because I know it brings out the best in him. And then on the flip side, another kid doesn't want to be told. He wants to be left alone. You give him the instruction and you leave him.
How do you figure that out?
You see it. You see their body language.
Right.
Body language speaks louder than words.
Right.
The eyes, the movement.
Yeah.
And some of them, I'm screaming, Brandon, come on, mate. What's that? And I can see he either likes it because he responds to my criticism, or he starts to drag. His shoulders drop, his head drops, and then his talk starts suddenly dropping. And then all of a sudden he doesn't want to know. Stuff everyone because it's individual. So I try different methods. I don't just say, "Oh, well, he's a bad kid. See you later." No.
Yeah.
You gotta work out each personality.
You've got the same goal, I guess, for the team and what you want to develop.
Yeah.
But as individuals, you need to deliver it to them individually.
Yeah, and I'm smiling because that's the fun part. And I used to love that side. And I'll tell you a quick story.
That's what kept you going all these years.
Well, that's it. But I'll tell you a quick story. I was telling someone this story today, but back in 2001, we were playing in a grand final, right? Before the game, the kids were so tight, so stiff, so nervous. It was so bad. No matter what we did or said.
Was this in a grand final?
Yeah. So in the pre-game warm-up.
Yeah. And
when they were in the sheds, it was so obvious that they were so nervous. But no matter how much you say it, and the problem is the more you say it, the more nervous they. So anyway, they've gone out to start the game, and they couldn't have had a worse half. We were down 22 points to 4 at half time.
Yeah, right.
22 to 4, which in a grand final, how are you going to come back from that? You're not.
Mentally.
So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And those days was my early days where I used to be a bit strong if things weren't going right. Like as in if they weren't playing to their ability, or I'd be a bit strong with the way I delivered my message.
Yeah.
Never abusive, but just very, firm.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm walking down to the sheds, you're thinking, oh, our whole season's gone. We're gone. The kids are walking off the field, they're distraught. And I'm thinking, what do I do here? What do I do? So I thought, we're not going to win this game. Just go in the sheds and change their mood.
Sure.
How am I going to change that mood? Just tell them a story. And I thought to myself, don't talk about footy. So anyway, they come in broken, shattered. That's it. The game's over. It's half time. It's 22 to 4. And I'll tell them an old story from when I was 17 years old. Right? I can't. But it's a funny story, right? A very funny story. So, all right, can I say it?
Or not if it's going to go
No. So it was obviously when I was younger and I was... Anyway, so I start talking.
We got kids watching, yeah.
So anyway, I start talking, and they're sort of like looking at each other, like because they were expecting me to tear the paint off the walls,
Sure.
to lose it.
Look
It's
at
the
that
grand final.
Look at that psychological move you pulled on them.
All right, so they're looking at each other like, what's. Anyway, so I start talking. I have not mentioned the game. This is a true story, right?
I love it.
And your halftime break is about 7 minutes. Anyways, when I finish the story, they start cracking up, laughing their heads off, right? And at that moment, they say, all right, like the referee comes in, knocks on the door, come on, let's go.
And you didn't mention the game?
And then I go to them.
This was a grand final?
This is the grand final
What
at
a
Belmore
move.
Sports Ground.
What a move.
Right.
Was this local club or junior Bulldogs?
This was St. John's versus East Hills.
That's what's up.
All right, so
That's what's up.
and then they're cracking up and they're all laughing and they're loose. And I said, all right, now go out and have fun in the second half. I don't care what happens. We ended up winning the game 40-22. True story.
Bro, that is...
We won the second half 36-0.
What a move,
And
man.
For me, that psychology moment, like their mood changed and they were loose and they played like a totally different team. Like, and then when one thing went right, the second thing went right, and then quickly the third thing. And the second try became 4 tries within 12 minutes. So we caught up to them like within 12 minutes. But the point I'm trying to make is the mind is a powerful tool.
Sure.
And it can work against you, and when we get it right, it can do amazing things. And look, we could have lost 70 points to 4 that day. I'm not saying what I said was the difference, but what I did do was just change their mood.
Yeah.
You know, and they won the game. I didn't win the game for them. They won the game, but I changed their psyche. I got them just to loosen up.
Sure.
And you know, had we gone in at halftime 14-12, I wouldn't have treated it that way. It was probably a blessing that they came in, you know, getting pumped by 18 points at that moment. But that story just, like, it gives me goosebumps.
I love it, man. That's the reason why you coach, man. That's the reason why you probably get addicted to going again.
100%.
So that's what happened in the grand final, that specific moment.
Yeah.
What are the regular, I guess, speeches or words that you might give them at the beginning of the game and halftime? I know this one was a move. What do you say to them at the beginning, like when you're about to start?
Yeah, just, you know, switch on. You know, think about, in my early years of coaching, it was very raw. It was all about team stuff, you know.
Rah-rah.
You know, be serious, rah-rah. You know, let's not be soft. But as I got into the rep setup, it's more specific.
Sure. That's maturity.
Very, very specific. You know, don't forget, and we did video on opposition, so it was very, very technical. But
even in club days?
No, I'm talking about rep footy, but how I finished as opposed to how I started.
Sure.
Very different. A young Charbel coach was more about, just, make your tackles. Whereas the older Charbel coach was, make sure we're squeezing them, we're getting time on the ground. It's not just about hitting them hard and tackling. It's about what we're doing in the tackle. Does that make sense?
100%.
So you're going a lot deeper into it.
And it makes sense from the timeline. You start off as a basics coach, you became more technical. And that's because you developed as a coach. And now you can develop. And that's why they've gave you those rep duties.
Well, that's it. And one of the biggest things that till this day resonates with me, and I said it to the first team I coached in 97 or 98, whatever it was, 96, to the last team I was involved with at the Roosters as an assistant coach as early as last year, is I would rather play well, even if it means losing, than play terrible and win a game. But that's just, obviously in a big game you don't want to lose.
I understand.
But the feeling, the group feeling that you get when your boys go out, the team goes out and puts it together as a group and walks off the field, and they know, and you know that they know, because you can tell by the way they're looking at each other, body language. There's no better feeling. There is no better feeling. That is why I was addicted for 25 years.
Yeah, got it. What are the general What are the general halftime speeches we spoke about? You want to go technical? Do you continue with technical, or what do you do? Do you dissect the first half? Do you just it's a different game, different play?
So the earlier coach, the younger, inexperienced coach, would probably talk about 12, 15 things, and then I realized as I got older as a coach that you only talk about 5, 6 things, but you got to identify. So I used to identify 3 key things that I thought we were one that we're doing really well, and then 1 or 2 that we weren't really good in attack, and then in defense 1 or 2 really good things, and then 1 or 2 really bad things.
Was that your basic method?
That's it.
Hit them with good and bad.
Yeah. You have to.
Yeah, right.
You have to. Even when they're playing well, you can't. You got to give them credit. You got to keep the tires full of air. You can't just hit them, because especially the later teams, they're just, it's a different psyche. The kids are different today than the kids of 20 years ago.
Talk to me about that a little bit, Sharbs, with let's talk about kids, and thanks for that coaching journey, bro. I love it.
I can talk a lot.
Bro, I love it when we talk about it and the coaching journey, because I dig it. I love that sort of stuff too. But let's talk about young men, and really, I just want to steer into leading men. What are the general struggles that you found over the years of coaching and leading young men? What are the general things that you found? What are they dealing with? Are they dealing with what are they dealing with? Is it social?
Just life in general, which
What is it? Is it?
Yeah, but there's good and bad that comes out of life, and it comes from the home, front, the school front, and the personal side. So some kids are ringleaders in that they're popular. Other kids gravitate to them. And then, there are other kids you can tell are a bit, how can I say it? Again, the psychology, they're not strong personality. They don't have charisma, or not that you have to have those things, but and you see
in a group environment, these people it's like a hierarchy.
100%, right? It's and that's what happens. The leaders, sort of go to the top, and then you get the followers, but not followers as in, they're inferior, but there's just some personalities are more dominant than others. But the home life is obviously a big deal. A lot of the kids I've coached over the years have, some have come to me to tell me what's going on, and some don't, because they're embarrassed, but you can see that it affects them. That's the reality. That's life. And as heartbreaking as it is, you can't change everything for everyone. Like, you can't, as much as you care, you got to be very careful. You can't overstep the mark, because then the parent's going to have an issue with you, and that's fine. That's their child, But look, I think with the digital age and social media,
talk to me about that. Yeah, has that changed?
My opinion, it's ruined the world. Not ruined. That's probably a poor word, but I think a kid can jump online and watch whatever he wants. He can watch a death. He can watch.
What's wrong with that?
But then they're getting exposed to things probably that they shouldn't be, which then probably leads them to believe that they know more than what they should at that age. So they think, I'm ready for the world, but you know what? You're not ready for the world. No. I think innocence is important. This is my theory.
That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah. I think, growing up, we were obviously, we grew up in the 90s, like as teenagers. And you look at the world today, a kid's got his own, we didn't have our own phones, they can text each other. They do all kinds of stuff. I got friends that are school teachers, and the things that they find, it's a tough time to be a parent. It's scary. And I've got a son, and all we can do as parents and as coaches and as mentors and as whatever we are is try and educate them to be, true to themselves and not be. There's a lot of temptations. That's probably what I'm getting at.
Yeah, got it.
There's a lot of ways a kid can be led astray.
Gotcha.
Or distracted now, as opposed to what did we have when we were younger? Now they've got PlayStations, they've got mobile phones. They can watch pay TV. They can watch MTV.
Yeah.
They can go. If we wanted to watch a movie, we had to go to the movies.
Yep.
So I'm not a difficult, like I may come across like I'm, have this old school mentality. I don't, but I think it's important for a child to still have some innocence
Sure.
about them, or try and protect them from themselves.
Don't let them sort of progress and run into things too quickly, because you want to sort of develop over time.
Yeah, and I saw that in the last few years of coaching.
Yeah.
The last few years, I'll tell you one quick story. So we had, kids would go to different schools, and we had 5 or 8 kids coming from a certain school.
Yep.
So there'd be 5 or 8 of those boys together on the train coming to training. And in that particular group, there was, 2 or 3 of the kids that were clean cut, very well mannered, would never get into trouble. Yet when they were in that group, coming to training from school, they got into a fight, on the train with kids from another school. And we had these 8 kids, whatever it was, we were disciplining them. And I reckon 3 or 4 of those kids would never, ever get involved in a fight. But because they were in a particular group, they were exposed to it.
Sure.
So that's what I mean by personal life. You can, who they hang around with.
So yeah, I get it. It's very important. Do you think that a child or a young person or anybody, even an adult as well, you should have a look around at your surroundings and say, who am I hanging out with? Are these people benefiting me, or are they pulling me
How
down?
do you convince a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old?
What he wants to fit in?
Yeah, and my son's not that age yet, so I'm waiting for that day.
Yeah.
But how do you convince your child, a boy or a girl, that kid's no good for them?
Yeah.
Or that, that group is no good for them? How do you convince them?
For me and myself, I know from my experiences, I've got teenage kids, and I haven't been able to individually convince them about every single decision in their life. But what I've tried to teach them is that I've tried to develop in them that you have a personal choice to make. You're going to see good and you're going to see bad.
There's right and wrong.
And it's not the first time you're going to see something. It's not the last time you're going to see something.
Yeah.
But this is what I try to develop in them, is that you have a choice to make.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And be a man that is not afraid to make a choice. Okay? Because I know in any environment or any circumstance, whether good or bad, I know it's going to be his choice. So I want to strengthen within them to be able to be okay with making a decision and making a choice. And that's important,
That's such a beautiful thing, and it's not just it's not just beautiful because of you putting that back into, so giving them the responsibility of, I'm gonna make the decision, not because daddy's gonna hit me or bet or ground me if 100%. I do. And I love that, because you're teaching them to think for themselves.
Well, Shabs, you think about it, right? If, like, I can make my kids do anything when they're in front of me, but I think you'll have a success as a parent if they can make independent choices when you're not there. Isn't that the whole idea?
That's a life skill.
Yeah,
100%. And again, and that's,
because when they're with you, they're angels. Aren't you, Brandon?
So you're putting the parent hat on, but then you're putting on the psychology part that I always go back to.
Yeah.
Psychology is all around us, and you've got 3 children, yeah?
Yeah.
And I bet as similar as the 3 are, they're also very different to each other.
100%.
So you know what I mean by, how to press this one as opposed to how to press that one to get the best out of them.
100.
Let them know that you care about them and that you want the best for them, but at the end of the day, you want them to be leaders in their own right. And that's a beautiful thing. And, for me, that's what parenting is. But again, everyone's different. I think I kind of that's how I was raised. My parents, amazing. My brothers and my sister, and we're so close to this day. And that's because of the way my parents brought us up. But
culture.
And that closeness.
I'm not going to forget that, culture.
That culture. And that closeness, that culture of closeness resonated in my coaching. And for me, that's why it worked. I believe I had some success as a coach. Like I said, I'm not saying I was a great coach, far from it. But I loved what I did, and I used that recipe, that method, and it worked. It worked for me early, and because it worked for me early, I stayed with it, and it ended up working for me right to the end.
I love it, man. And we can take lessons from that as parents as well. I think the biggest thing as well with parenting or parents or leading people, if you've asked them to do something, Okay, if you want them to do something, you tell them to do something or not to do something, bro, they're not going to listen to what you say, but they're going to watch what you do. The first thing you should ask is that guy in the mirror and ask him, don't do this and do this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
because the kids are going to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
How far do you think you're going to get if you tell a child to do something or not to do something?
And then you have double standard. Yeah.
How far do you think that's going to go?
I couldn't agree with you more.
So if nothing else,
Yeah.
ask that person in the mirror before you ask your kids anything.
Yeah,
you know?
and you think about when you were 13, 14, even 10. I still remember year 3, year 7, when I was 7 years old. And when you're young, you absorb so much. You see everything.
100.
And then some adults, I see, and I'm not judging anyone, and they carry on. They do things like as if the child doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Like, they're too young to understand,
Yeah.
you know. But you know what? No, they're watching you. They're learning from you.
100%.
Including your
Habits.
your habits,
Yeah.
your good and bad habits.
For sure.
So for me, you know, coaching was good like that. It taught me a lot about myself, you know, the kind of a person I was, and and like you said, you know, getting teams. It's all good and well when you get a good side and you kick on. Nothing wrong with that, but when you can get a side, and one of the last sides I had. You know, they were a poor side, and we ended up winning, you know, a comp, and they reached great heights, you know. And one of them just got married the other day. Like, these are guys that were 12 years old once upon a time, and now they're grown men, own businesses, and successful. And you know, this guy's having kids, and this guy's to know that you were part of that journey. You know, and like I said, it goes. I even though I stopped coaching, I still use a lot of what I learnt about myself and things that worked for me as a coach at home with my boy.
Love it.
You know?
Of course.
You know, not reverse, but just little things. And any parent will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? Reverse psychology, tough love, you know, love and support, you know, you being more patient as opposed to getting angry so much, and then all of a sudden the child's responding better to that.
Yep.
That's a beautiful thing, you know? We're still growing.
100%.
Just because we're parents or coaches or in our 40s, or we're still growing. We're still learning about ourselves. We're still developing our skills.
But especially as a parent, like even though you're a mature man, when we have young children, we're new parents. So we're developing as parents as well.
That's right, you know.
So we're learning how to deal with this other human, you know.
That's right. And I coach other people's kids, other parents' kids for 25 years, from 10 years old to, you know, A grade, older guys. And because I met kids from all walks of life and all nationalities and all, you know, different situations, smart kids, you know, poor kids, whatever. I thought, I got this parent thing down pat, and in my first 3 years,
smack you right in the mouth.
It smacked me in the mouth and spat me out twice, because I thought, hang on, like I thought I was ready, I am ready, but there was a lot of things that I struggled with that I never ever thought I would struggle with in my early years as a parent. But that's the beauty of life, man. You know,
yeah, man. Constantly learning.
You're constantly learning and you're evolving.
What are you going to do? What have you done with your time post coaching? You stopped coaching, and what are you doing with your time, man?
Just spending more quality time with the family.
Yep.
And as you know, on this, one of my other biggest hobbies is music.
Yep.
Just spending a bit of time with my music, a bit of production, a bit of just stuff like that. But more my business that I share with one of my best mates, Gabs.
Yep.
Building our business and trying to be the best we can be for our paying customers. Because again, it goes back to my coaching. When I take on a pool, like when I take on a team, it's all or nothing.
Yeah, right.
So they're paying us a lot of money, and my attitude is we owe them obviously our best.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's there's not enough hours in the day to do much more. But
with the time you've taken away from coaching, it takes a lot of time. So now you can spend it more in
But I'm gonna lay one more thing on you.
Of course,
only today
I'm here for you, baby.
Only today I messaged someone saying, look, I'm thinking about getting back into coaching next year.
Bro, that was my last question.
Yeah.
That was my last
Only today. True story. I can show you.
Yeah, right. So, and that's it.
But I don't want to go back to rep footy.
Here's my last question. Would you ever get back into coaching?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Why?
I love it.
Yeah, right.
And I love everything about it, even the tough stuff.
Yeah. The camaraderie.
Yeah.
Shubs, when I go down during the week and it's like the sun's down and the lights are on, I can smell the grass. You know, it takes me back.
Yeah.
It takes me back. Just that I feel at home
Yeah.
when I just smell that grass.
Yeah. And look, I might go back and think, what the hell am I doing? But I feel like I need to. It's like something's missing in my life.
How about this? There's a lot of kids out there that need a leader like you, bro. You know, but you know what I mean? There's another wave.
Yeah, well, that's it. So, look,
it's never ending, man.
No, first and foremost, I love the game.
Yep.
Obviously, why would I coach the game if I didn't like the game? I'd be in another sport. Love rugby league.
Yep.
But I love rugby league at its grassroots. Because there's no politics, there's no crap. It's pure. So
would you want to get back into club footy?
Club footy, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. I am. I think I am.
Gotcha.
I think so. And take a young 14, 15-year-old side
Sharps.
where they're ready. If they're becoming men, they're kids becoming teenagers,
lucky
not
them,
men.
Bro.
And I want to help them. I want to help them become the best that they can be.
You're going to wind back the clock.
Because I know a lot more now than what I knew back then.
You just said that earlier, bro.
Yeah.
Only if you knew back then. So now you're going to rewrite your wrongs?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I think so. But I'm going to do it in a new environment.
I know. I get you.
Meaning I'm going to a club, an area that's nowhere far from home.
Relax, people. It's just it's all talks now.
It's all talk. It's all preliminary talks.
Early conversations.
That's it,
thanks, man. Thanks, Shubs.
No, thank you, bro. And like you said, you know, I hold you. I love you. Like I've seen the kid. What can I say? We've been through a lot together.
Yeah, man.
Even if I don't see you for 20 years, which is not going to happen, I know that we're just going to kick on like nothing.
Brothers for life,
and that's it, you know. So thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, man.
I love you.
Thanks for coming out, man. Love you, bro.
Thank you.
Good on you.